I will show you a couple of examples of poor examples of red-green twin spikes. And it's not always, I do videos like this so that you can see the difference between good ones and bad ones. I'm in INTU, and this green vertical line is in April. It's April 21st, 2017. If you look to the right over here, you can see the data window, and that'll give you a lot of information as I talk. Now, down here I have a red-green one-day twin spike. The green, however, zip green is at 21 and zip red is at, on the day before, zip red is at 22. Normally we like to see these red-green twin spikes with green at 0. The reaction is better. Next day it's going to go up because we got a red-green twin spike. And if we look over in the other charts, like in the trend chart, we have a low angle down, which indicates that it's going to go up, and we have a power red that is crossed down under the power green and orange lines, but that doesn't necessarily tell us anything that it's about what the reaction is going to be the next day. We do have the power green and orange under 0, as well as the swing red and green under 0. And we have the trend trio, pink, blue, pink, yellow, just barely over 0. They're real low, relatively speaking, compared to like days over here or days over here. So because we've got 4 out of because the short-term trend lines are basically very significantly identifying what's going on here. And there's the other contributing factor is we have zip blue highest, and that you may not be aware of that, but when that's highest, typically things have a tendency to go down. But obviously we've got a case here of mixed reactions on this day, and it's just generally something that we would not choose to trade. The zip green at 21 and the red at 22 in a one-day. I don't know that there's any difference between one-day and two-day twin spikes, but sometimes the twos can operate better. In the yellow vertical line right here, we have a 2-day red-green spike, and zip green is at 0 in this case. But we have the contributing factors that we have in this case is that we have the yellow, zip yellow, and the power yellow both highest and both going down, which you hopefully know is a downtrend. And so to buy a red-green peak in a downtrend is based on the 2 yellow lines is not something that we would do. Also, we have at this point on this yellow vertical line, although the power green and orange are above 0, the green line is starting to cross under 0 or under orange and go down. So that's a strong indication. Also, your trend trio is heading down. In fact, your red and green are both under 0 at this point. And so again, to get a reaction to do something like that is not something that we would necessarily look at. Also, let me point out that there is a difference between picking up a red-green pattern before a peak or after a peak. Or in other words, if you had a red-green pattern over here on this side of this big peak. That would be better than to have it on the back side of the peak. But these are two examples that I wanted to point out and show you about what are, relatively. Oh, there's one other thing too I needed to point out that I forgot, and that is down here in the swing chart. Notice that when you're looking at a red-green 2-day twin peak, it's going to tell you it's going up, or next day it's going to go up. And in fact, it does go up. It gaps up, but it's a red candle. And both these days gap up, and they're red candles. So, but swing gray has been on the peak. It's a deep cycle indicator. It's telling you things are heading down. And if you look more closely here, you can see that our indicator lines, the yellow has crossed under the red, and that's a indication that occurs before this day. This is the day that swing blue are crossed underneath the red. And so that can be a weak signal for the start of a downtrend when blue crosses under red. It's a weak signal when blue crosses over green. But right here is when the green crosses under. Well, it's not there. Let me see here. Let's look exactly so that we can see. When swing green crosses, swing green is 0.96 and swing blue is 0.94. So it's just above it yet. On this day right here, swing green is 0.86, swing blue is 0.82. Swing green is still above the blue. Excuse me. Blue is now under green, and blue was just under green here too, excuse me. And on this day, blue was 104, green was 106, so it has gone under here, and that's indicative of the stronger downtrend. But in this case here, it's almost on top of it. It's barely getting under. We like this, obviously, when we see that separation, we get a stronger down movement. And what's telltailing in this is when things cross under zero, obviously. And specifically, when you get on swing gray will cross under zero on this line, and swing gray will cross under the red swing gray on the next day after this line. And so when swing gray crosses under your red and your green and your zero line, that makes for a stronger down movement. And as you can see from this point on, the right side of the white vertical line moves down faster than the left side. And so typically, generally speaking, when lines are moving down and they're above zero, prices don't necessarily move down as quickly as when lines are moving down and they're under zero. That's a real general idea to keep in mind. It's obviously relative to the faster lines and what position they are. If they're dropping fast as well, then that is true. But the rallies and the pullbacks are visible in the trend reds and the green reds and the zip reds and the swing pinks. Those are our fast lines. So be aware of that. More information. I hope that was helpful about some poor examples for how we see red-green twin spikes that we would probably choose not to buy.